You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Are you ready for AI in cybersecurity? Demand for these skills is growing exponentially for cybersecurity professionals. It's why CompTIA, the largest vendor-neutral certification authority, is developing SecAI Plus. It's their first ever AI certification focused on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity and is designed to help mid-career cybersecurity professionals demonstrate their competencies with AI tools. And that's why N2K's SecAI Plus practice exam is coming out this year to help you prepare for this certification release in 2026. To find out more about this new credential and how N2K can help you prepare today, check out our blog at certify.cybervista.net/blog. And thanks.
What's your 2 a.m. security worry? Is it, do I have the right controls in place? Maybe, are my vendors secure? Or the one that really keeps you up at night, how do I get out from under these old tools and manual processes? That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta automates the manual work so you can stop sweating over spreadsheets, chasing audit evidence, and filling out endless questionnaires. Their trust management platform continuously monitors your systems, centralizes your data, and simplifies your security at scale. And it fits right into your workflows, using AI to streamline evidence collection, flag risks, and keep your program audit ready, all the time. With Vanta, you get everything you need to move faster, scale confidently, and finally, get back to sleep. Get started at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber.
Today is October 24th, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazis, and this is T-Minus.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS speed risk. Go for deploy. Roger, roll. 5.
The National Astronomical Observatories of the Chinese Academy of Sciences has officially commissioned the Ames telescope.
4.
The YF-75DB hydrogen-oxygen engine for China's Long March 8A carrier rocket has successfully completed its certification tests.
3.
Hungary signs the Artemis Accords and shares plans to send another astronaut to the ISS.
2.
Hughes Network Systems, an EchoStar company, has acquired Anderson Connectivity.
1.
The United States Space Force expects to award $905 million in contracts over the next 5 years through a new Maneuverable GEO program.
0.
And on Fridays, our partners at NASASpaceflight.com bring us the Space Traffic Report, wrapping up the launch news from the last 7 days and taking a look at what is to come in the next week. Make sure to stick around for more on that after today's intelligence briefing. Thank you for joining me on this lovely Friday. Let's dive in, shall we? First up, the United States Space Force expects to award $905 million in contracts over the next 5 years through a new Maneuverable GEO program. The projection is part of the Commercial Satellite Communications Office's Fiscal 2026 Forecast to Industry, an annual document that lays out the requirements and contract opportunities within the office, which is responsible for procuring commercial SATCOM for the entire military. USSF is expected to release requests for proposals and requests for quotes for the future ComSatCom services acquisition, which provides the U.S. Department of Defense procurement of satellite communication capabilities from an approved list of contractors. The 2026 forecast lists 7 programs with contracts valued at up to $1.1 billion, with the Maneuverable GEO effort coming in as the most prominent project. The program will form a commercial fleet of communication satellites that can shift around in geosynchronous orbit, hence Maneuverable GEO. USSF had planned to award a contract for Maneuverable GEO last July, listing the program in the office's fiscal 2025 forecast, but the effort was delayed. The dollar amount, however, has not changed. All this, of course, is subject to change with all of the discussions over the budget happening right now, causing the current U.S. government shutdown. Let's move on. Hughes Network Systems, which is an EchoStar company, has acquired Anderson Connectivity. Anderson provides design, engineering, and manufacturing services and is based in Melbourne, Florida. Hughes says the acquisition significantly expands the company's capabilities, adding key technology and engineering talent and product solutions, while positioning the company for accelerated growth in the global aviation, space, and defense markets. The cost of the acquisition was not included with the announcement. All right, for this next story, think with me for a minute. When we think of spacefaring nations in Europe, which nations come to mind? Some easy ones: France, Germany, Italy, the UK. Did you also think of Hungary? Well, maybe you should, as Hungary has announced plans to send another research astronaut to the International Space Station with Axiom Space. Gyula Szerényi has been selected for the mission and will be the third Hungarian to travel to space. To date, citizens of 55 countries have flown in space, and Hungary is currently tied with countries such as the United Arab Emirates, India, Israel, Poland, Belgium, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Spain, each having sent 2 astronauts into orbit. So if Gyula Szerényi's mission proves successful, Hungary would actually join the global top 10, tied with Australia and Saudi Arabia, with 3 astronauts having reached orbit. And Hungary is making the space headlines for another reason this week. Despite the U.S. government shutdown, they have successfully signed the U.S.-led Artemis Accords. Hungary has now become the 57th signatory of the Artemis Accords, outlining norms of behavior for sustainable space exploration. And congratulations to Hungary. Now let's head on over to China, and the YF-75DB hydrogen-oxygen engine for China's Long March 8A carrier rocket has successfully completed its certification tests. From September 22nd to October 18th, a total of 9 ignitions were carried out during 4 test runs. The tests covered various operating conditions and validated the engine's working performance under complex conditions, structural reliability, and the operational adaptability of its components. And for China, it means this type of engine has now entered the application and development stage. And staying with China for our last story now, the National Astronomical Observatories of the Chinese Academy of Sciences has officially commissioned the world's first solar magnetic field telescope working in the mid-infrared wavelength. The telescope, known as the Accurate Infrared Magnetic Field Measurements of the Sun, or AIMS, will measure the solar magnetic field to include solar flares and coronal mass ejections. The telescope is in Lenghu Township in northwest China's Qinghai province at an altitude of about 4,000 meters. It's expected to deliver data that will improve China's solar physics research and enhance the country's capabilities in solar activity monitoring and space weather forecasting. That wraps up our intel briefing for today and for this week, but there's always more on launch news to come from our colleagues at nasaspaceflight.com. But before we get to them, N2K senior producer Alice Carruth joins me now with a look at the other stories making the headlines today. Alice, what do you have for us?
Maria, yesterday's top story of Airbus, Leonardo and Thales's merger has Europe proceeding with caution. Josef Aschbacher, ESA's Director General, told reporters, quote, "It will change the landscape in terms of competition, and we will take this into account in our industrial policy and the procurements we make. We will certainly be watching how that landscape changes after the merger happens and the new entity becomes fully operational in 2027.
And friends, you can read more about that story and all of the others that we mentioned throughout the show by following the links in the selected reading section of this episode's show notes. Tomorrow, be sure to check your podcast feed for T-Minus Deep Space. It's our special edition Saturday show where we share an in-depth interview and dive a bit deeper into the fascinating topics with brilliant guests. And on T-minus Deep Space tomorrow, we have Parker Wishick and The Nexus, covering cislunar development. Parker will be joined by Kelly Kettis-Ogborn, Vice President of Global Space Programs at the Space Foundation, Walter Schroeder, co-founder and CPO at Cislunar Industries, and Ron Burke, Principal Director, Space Enterprise Evolution Directorate at the Aerospace Corporation. And that is all on T-minus Deep Space tomorrow.
At Thales, they know cybersecurity can be tough and you can't protect everything. But with Thales, you can secure what matters most. With Thales's industry-leading platforms, you can protect critical applications, data, and identities, anywhere and at scale with the highest ROI. That's why the most trusted brands and largest banks, retailers, and healthcare companies in the world rely on Thales to protect what matters most: applications, data, and identity. That's Thales. Thales. Learn more at thalesgroup.com/cyber.
Fridays mean it's time for me to hand you over to nasaspaceflight.com for the Space Traffic Report now.
I'm Alicia Siegel for NSF, and this is your weekly Space Traffic Report for T-minus Space. The space traffic this week started with some orbital maintenance on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zubritsky exited the orbiting outpost on October 16th, beginning their roughly 6-hour spacewalk at 17:08 UTC. During the spacewalk, the two cosmonauts installed a semiconductor growth experiment, dismantled and ejected an old camera from the Zvezda module, removed hardware from the Poisk module, and literally cleaned a window while they were at it. I'm sure the clearer views will be worth it. As for this weekend launches, those started from China with the launch of a Changzheng 6A rocket on October 17th at 7:08 UTC from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center. The rocket was carrying a batch of 18 Qianfan internet satellites into low Earth orbit. While China has other internet satellite constellations like Guowang, which are often likened to SpaceX's Starlink, Qianfan satellites actually best resemble Starlink satellites since they're also flat-packed. This was the 6th operational launch of these satellites, bringing the total number of Qianfan satellites launched into orbit to 119. Also from China, we had the launch of a Kinetica 1 rocket on October 19th at 3:33 UTC from the Zhochuan Satellite Launch Center. The rocket was carrying 3 Earth observation satellites into sun-synchronous orbit. 2 of them were the AirSat 03 and 04 synthetic aperture radar satellites from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, which is also the owner of CAS Space, the company that builds and launches this rocket. The third of the payloads was the PRS-C-HS-1, which is Pakistan's first Earth observation satellite designed and built in that country. After those 2 launches from China, we head back to the US with back-to-back Starlink launches taking place less than 2 hours apart on October 19th. The first one took place at 17:39 UTC from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida and carried 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. This launch featured veteran booster B-1067, which flew for a 31st time, making it, once again, the record-breaking Falcon booster of the fleet with the most number of flights. And it'll likely complete even more flights because it successfully landed on SpaceX's drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas. Less than 2 hours after that, at 19:24 UTC, another Starlink launch took place, this one from Vandenberg, carrying another 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites into orbit. The booster for this mission, B-1088, was flying for an 11th time, and it successfully landed on SpaceX's drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. This mission marked quite the milestone for Starlink, as it carried the 10,000th Starlink satellite ever to be launched. It also caused some people on social media to panic because of a very poorly timed, unplanned loss of signal from the second stage around the time that it was meant to complete its orbital insertion. Many thought that it had failed, or underperformed, or worse, but Nope, it was just a very untimely loss of signal. The second stage did its job correctly and deployed the satellites, which were later tracked in the expected orbit. By the way, while these two back-to-back Starlinks were close in time to one another, it wasn't the shortest time between any two SpaceX launches. That record was set last year at 65 minutes, while in this case, it was 104 minutes and 20 seconds. Still second place, though. Now, what actually broke a turnaround record was the next launch, which also happened to be a Starlink launch from Vandenberg. This one took place on October 22nd at 14:16 UTC, and like the previous one, it also carried 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites into orbit. But this one took place under 67 hours after the previous launch, which broke the pad's own turnaround record between missions. The previous record had been set just last month at 69.5 hours, so while only 2.5 hours were removed from the record, it's still quite noteworthy because it's not a one-off event. SpaceX really is setting the pace at Vandenberg with this increase of cadence, as these two back-to-back Vandenberg launches were actually the 50th and 51st by the company from there just this year alone. Coming back to China, we had the launch of the country's most powerful and most capable rocket so far, the Changzheng 5. Liftoff occurred on October 23rd at 14:30 UTC from Launch Complex 1 at the Wenchang Space Launch Site in the island of Hainan. The rocket was carrying the TJS-20 satellite into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. TJS, which stands for Tongxian Jishu Xian, are a type of secretive Chinese military satellites dedicated to communications testing. It's been speculated that these are mostly signal intelligence satellites, most of which have been deployed in geosynchronous orbit. At the end of the week, we had the launch of another Falcon 9, but no Starlinks on this one. Instead, it was carrying the SpainSat New Generation 2 satellite for Spain into a geosynchronous transfer orbit. This satellite is the second of the two SpainSat New Generation satellites to be launched, and both of them are part of the latest military communications satellites for the Spanish government. Unfortunately, due to their huge mass, they've needed expendable Falcon 9 rockets to launch them. So for this mission, booster B-1076 flew for its 22nd and last time, as there was no possibility of launching the satellite into the desired orbit while reserving propellant for the booster's return. Going into next week, we'll have the potential for up to 5 Starlink launches once again. Japan will also try to launch the first HTV-X cargo resupply spacecraft to the International Space Station. The original launch attempt had to be postponed by several days due to unfavorable weather at the launch site. JAXA is now eyeing a new launch attempt on October 26th at midnight UTC, so let's hope that the weather is favorable this time. Next week, we may also have the debut of a new rocket, the Hanbit Nano rocket by South Korean rocket company Innospace. But the mission, called Spaceward, won't be taking place from a South Korean launch site, rather from the Alcantara Launch Center in Brazil. A few missions will also pop up from China, as usual, including the launch of the next crew rotation mission to the Tiangong space station, Shenzhou 21. As always, if you want to keep up with the latest in spaceflight, you can check out nextspaceflight.com or download the app on your phone to stay up to date wherever you go. I'm Alicia Siegel for NSF, and that's your weekly space traffic report. Now back to T-Space.
We'll be right back.
And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the Department of Defense's Cyber Service Academy program, which covers tuition, textbooks, and a laptop, as well as providing a $34,000 additional annual stipend. Apply for the fall 2026 semester and for this scholarship by February 28th. Learn more at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI.
We're coming up on Halloween, And we thought maybe today we'd get a little spooky with our final Friday story. So here's a blood-chilling tale from not all that long ago, sure to send shivers down your spine. The tale of the zombie satellite. LES-1, the Lincoln Experimental Satellite, launched in the year 1965, and it was a military demonstration satellite built by NASA's Lincoln Labs in Massachusetts, not far from Salem. Okay, not exactly right next door, but same state. It's a stretch. Okay, moving on. LES was supposed to be one of a series of satellites to test high-frequency communications, specifically in the X-band. But not long after its successful launch on a Titan 3A rocket, there was a problem. For some spooky reason, there was a miswiring in its circuits, and LES-1's motors never fired. Its intended orbit was haunted! And so LES-1 didn't make its intended orbit and was instead set adrift, tumbling in a suboptimal orbit. A mere 2 years later, in 1967, LES-1 officially went dark. Doomed for all time, it seemed. That is, until nearly 45 years later, until some amateur radio enthusiasts in 2012 in the United Kingdom, Brazil, and Germany started hearing something rather creepy from places above us that should have been quiet. They were able to confirm that haunting sound you're hearing was indeed the actual voice of LES-1, which once was dead and is now a shambling zombie satellite. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it say, "brains." Now, we don't know exactly what kind of dark magic awakened LES-1. A cosmic ray flipping just the right errant bit? Most likely a corrosive failure in the battery that is somehow letting power get through directly to the transmitter once it's in sunlight. And to this day, on particularly dark but hopefully not at all stormy nights, if you listen very closely to the skies with just the right equipment, you too can hear the plaintive moans and creaking groans of the haunted zombie satellite LES-1, still tumbling about in orbit to this very day. And that's T-Minus, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to space@n2k.com. We're proud that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K helps space and cybersecurity professionals grow, learn, and stay informed. As the nexus for discovery and connection, we bring you the people, the technology, and the ideas shaping the future of secure innovation. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazis. Thank you for listening. Have a lovely weekend.